So I'm sitting here and I'm praising God and I'm giving God thanks for how far He's brought me. And I'm acknowledging God and thanking God for who He has been this entire time throughout my entire life. Because I'm beginning to see how He's really been with me. It's not that I didn't know it, but there's moments when you're in the presence of God that God brings a deep clarity. And so I'm experiencing that clarity in this moment. And well, I just want to encourage somebody to know and understand that everything happens for a reason. Everything that happened in your life had to happen. And so many times people ask, well, why does God allow this to happen? Why did God let that happen? God knew that that was going to hurt me. God knew that it was hurting me while it happened. But here's the thing about how things work together so that things can work out for your good in the end is that for a lot of times for the better thing to happen, well, there has to be some things that take place first. And in some cases, it's the unfortunate things that happen so that something better can come after. So I'm going to speak from myself, use myself as an example. When I was a little child, when I was a little girl, it's about 4 or 5 years old, I was molested and abused by my mother's boyfriend. And when my grandmother caught wind of it, when she found out about it, immediately she took action. It wasn't her intention to take me from my mother. It was her intention to protect me and my brother from the environment that my mother had us in, our home environment. So my grandmother got custody of me and my brother, and she raised us. My grandmother wasn't a perfect woman, but my God, she was a doggone good mother. And she would always say it too. If she was nothing else, she had been a good mother, and it is so true. She really was. But for that thing to happen, for me to get to be taken care of, to be in better care, for me to get the upbringing that God needed me to have, which would later lead to me drawing closer to Him for myself, that had to happen so that I could end up in my grandmother's care. There had to be a reason for me to end up in my grandmother's care. See, a lot of times we get so caught up in the why, and really what it is, we're getting caught up in the offense of what happened. We're getting caught up in the feeling of what happened. We're getting caught up in the misfortune that we are not able to see the bigger picture. And God understands this, and therefore He's very forgiving and He's very understanding because He knows that He understands that you don't know that His ways are not our ways and that His ways are not going to always make sense to you. But one day, hopefully, you would understand and you would appreciate it. So I pray that this will bring someone clarity and understanding that, hey, what you went through, it didn't feel good. You didn't like it, whatever it was that you experienced, whether it was in your childhood or whether it was yesterday. But just know this, that there was a reason for that happening. And for that to happen, that had to happen for something good to come out of it. God had to allow that to happen so that the better thing, the greater thing could take place thereafter. You know what the Lord is bringing to my mind is in the book of Exodus, how when His people were crossing the Red Sea and Pharaoh was hot on their trail, God's plan to destroy the enemy of His people. And so God allowed the enemy to pursue them because God already knew His plan was to destroy them. The people couldn't see it. The Israelites couldn't see it. They couldn't tell. Or they were frightened because all they could see was like they're hot on their trails. Oh my God, they're going to get somebody. They're going to get one of us. And they didn't know what else to think. But God knew the entire time what His plan was. And not anybody was harmed. Nobody was forgotten. Nobody was left behind. Nobody was touched. Not even a hair on anybody's head. They all made it through the Red Sea to the other side. And not only did God parted the Red Sea for His people to cross over, but immediately after the last person had made it over, the sea, God then shut the sea so that it enclosed on the enemies. See, all that had to happen so the end result could be the destruction of the enemy. Even when God gave Pharaoh as many chances as he did, many opportunities as he did, even though God knew that the Pharaoh would not surrender, would not submit, would not humble himself because his heart had been hardened, God still gave the Pharaoh fair chance. God knew what His plan was the entire time. So I'm saying this to say, trust God, especially when it doesn't make sense to you. It's hard not to get caught up in your feelings because we're human and we have feelings. And especially if you're a human with a caring heart, your heart is going to hurt a lot. But trust God anyway. Don't forsake God. Don't take your anger out on God. Ask God for understanding. Ask God to help you accept the things that you cannot change. the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because really and truly, as a child of God, all things are working together for your good because He has a purpose for your life. Amen. I pray this message has been a blessing for someone somewhere to receive as much as it has been a blessing for me to share. I love you with the love of Christ. I'm praying for your strength in the Lord as I pray for my own. You take care and you be blessed. Peace.